So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an overview for any of you who may have missed day one of the trial, or any of you who just want a refresher. So we started with the Commonwealth is sticking with here. So they're trying to establish that Lindsay Clancy was a control freak, and that is the reason that she wouldn't want to leave the children with anyone. So she took their lives because she didn't trust anyone to raise them, and she wanted a way out, and that was her way. So that's one of the things they're trying to establish. They're also trying to establish that sending Patrick to the restaurant and her looking up how far the restaurant was, they're trying to establish that that is means of calculation, and it shows that she was in a mental state that she could calculate this supposed crime. They're also going with the fact that the suicide was faked. That's something that they were trying to push, which Kevin Reddington shut down pretty quick. And then the other note I have is that they mentioned they were trying to establish that she was manipulating her doctors. So that's kind of the Commonwealth's case. We saw most of that come out in their opening. And then getting into Kevin Reddington's opening, he pretty much started off with refuting the claims for the fake suicide. He wanted to shut that down right away. And he did that by showing photos from the day of the incident. And it was pretty compelling. And I think that as a juror looking at that, they would have come to the conclusion themselves that it wasn't a fake suicide. And then he also refuted the claims that she was manipulating doctors, because the way that the Commonwealth went about it was saying that Lindsay went about getting mental health help in all the wrong ways. And Reddington responded with putting up a timeline of every time she tried to get help. They started the direct on Patrick, and where we're going to continue the direct on Patrick is actually we're at today, the day of the incident, the day the children passed. It's got to be tough for Patrick, seeing that he's coming back another day. This is a tough trial for the both of them, Patrick and Lindsay, and the rest of the family. So we'll see how she goes about questioning in terms of the day that the children passed. She started off a little bit and she was asking things like, oh, Cora was eating chicken nuggets that day. Was she eating it from a plate or a bowl? Asking things. This is the worst day of his life, and it's got to be hard to relive that. It's hard for Lindsay, and I can't imagine, regardless of what you feel about this case, this family, and it's crushing to see what tragedy occurred, and reliving it in this ruthless of a manner is really hard to watch, and I imagine a million times more hard to go through. And I think that what's so important about this case is that it brings awareness in the way that I don't need to be a mother, and you shouldn't need to be a mother that's went through postpartum to try to have understanding, especially in terms of mental health. A lot of people say you have to go through it to understand it, but I feel we should get to a place where you can have understanding and you can try to learn and understand what's happening in people's minds without actually being there, having a form of empathy. And I think that's what's so strong and important about this case. And I'm sure that the Commonwealth, seeing the state that they led Lindsay to being in, they're going to have to try to be mindful of the jury as real people and they're processing emotions as well. They see Lindsay, they're in the courtroom with her, and they see Patrick and what he's going through. And you have to be a certain type of person to be able to handle this case properly as the district attorney. And I don't know if I agree with the way that everything has went down. I think some things are necessary, but it's hard. And as heavy as this case is, it's important because it's easy to live in a world, like we were saying on Monday, it's easy to live in a world where everything's black and white. And I've already seen a couple of you in the chat, people who come into this thinking 3 children are gone and someone needs to be punished for that, were a lot of people's first thoughts about it. And what's important about this case is actually seeing the turmoil that mental health crisis can leave people in, and seeing that firsthand, as hard as it is, it's important. Being empathetic and having understanding for things that you haven't gone through is something we can never have enough of in society. And I would argue that regardless of your opinion on the case, it should still make you want to advocate for mental health help, because at the end of the day, this was a woman who was clearly struggling. I don't think there's much of a debate surrounding that. And I would argue that if she had a choice, and if the Lindsay that was there for every moment except when she was in active psychosis would never have harmed her children, as Patrick said, would never have harmed herself. And if she didn't want to fight for her life with everything she had, she wouldn't have tried to get the help as relentlessly as she did. I think we saw a little bit in the opening of how many times and how many different doctors she went to try to get help through. And to me, that's indicative of fighting for your life, of knowing I'm in trouble and I need someone to help me.